Today, the government budget of 72 trillion shillings was presented to the public. However, the opposition says 55 trillion shillings is sufficient because they feel that the budget is like the president and his people behaving like the elders of old who enjoyed all the niceties while giving the children a small bubble of rice, yet complaining why they seem dissatisfied. Why is there such a disparity and what is pushing this budget upwards?
The 72 trillion budget in our proposal is just exaggerated for purposes of creating an impression that we are growing. First, URA has consistently been correcting 24 trillion, 25, sometimes 26. So the corrections are growing by 1 trillion, maximum 2 trillion. Now they create an impression that they are going to grow by about 7 trillion. It has never happened by trends. Even if you go back 2021, 2023, 2024, URA corrections grow maximum by 2 trillion. Sometimes they grow by 1 trillion. So the tax component of the budget will not be met. These fellows you will see walking with the bags that they have brought a budget. Actually, they are bringing air. The actual money is not there. That's why suppliers are crying they haven't been paid. Because URA has no capacity, this economy has no capacity to generate 37 trillion in taxes.
The president is continually pushing for the commercialization of agriculture, coupled with the new crucial areas of tourism, ICT and mineral extraction. However, one wonders if the budget pie is shared to support the growth of these areas. Moreover, are our market priorities aligned to ensure that our crucial sectors grow?
Dubai decided to build an economy on 3 T's: trade, tourism, transport. All their investment is in those 3 areas. That's why they have Emirates Airline, they start fly Dubai. Another day they have Etihad, creatively putting products on the market to facilitate the 3 T's that they have identified as a country. Here they will identify the areas as agro-processing, tourism, ITC, industry, and so on and so forth, and then starve them of money. Because you have 62% of the population in agriculture, but the budget is less than 2 trillion in a budget of 72 trillion. Once you've said you're going to be agro-processing, it means production must be facilitated to go up as high as you can. Because look, we have a factory for fruits in Soroti. The mangoes were coming from Kenya. I think now at some time it had been closed. We have Matia sugar factory. It started up to now, they have no canes to go and process sugar. So there is a mismatch between the declared policies and the funding towards those policies. So if we became the food basket for the Middle East, not Kenya, you will see the president very happy that we export milk to Kenya. Kenya will give you less because they can also produce milk. You cannot celebrate exporting to South Sudan, which is under war, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, which is under war and poor. Because what is the GDP of Congo? What is the GDP of South Sudan and Kenya? Go to Saudi Arabia. They have every day Saudi Arabia makes $1 billion in terms of sales in petroleum. So they have excess money.
Public debt is growing to 106 trillion shillings, a sharp increase from 96 trillion shillings in December 2023. Mr. Semuju points to the issue of human resources, where State House has 650 RDCs, deputies and assistants, not forgetting 90 cooks within the president's home, while Mulago Hospital is working at a meager 49%.
That's why the budget of 72 trillion, 8.5 trillion is for paying wages. And then you have another about 4 trillion, which is for internal travel, buying vehicles, maintaining vehicles, buying fuel, workshops, donation, etc. You are spending about 12 trillion of borrowed money on employees who have no money to use to work. So it's like employing a maid and you are sleeping on the street. There is no food to prepare, no clothes to wash, but you and the maid, you are all sleeping there, all of you beggars. That's what government does. So the problem with the public debt, first, is that we are borrowing for fun. Each time we hear there is someone lending money, we run there, bring it, it sits on the account. The last time the Auditor General did a report, we had 14 trillion shillings sitting on accounts that we have borrowed and not utilizing. A lot of that money is being borrowed from China. Then annually they correct commitment fees, because for them they committed that the money is available and you're not utilizing it. Then two, If you have, because all the documents of Ministry of Finance point to the fact that we borrow money for roads whose visibility study has not been done. Compensation for passage has not been done. Design is not done. I think people there are mad. They are candidates for mental rehabilitation in Butabika. That you continue doing the same things, borrow money, and then in report on dates and grants in Parliament, you say, sorry, for this particular money we borrowed when there was no design, when there was no feasibility study, when there was no money for compensation. Why, for God's sake, do you go and borrow?
Interest rates on debt are also alarming because the government is paying penalties and giving incentives to several parties without a thought to the taxpayers. What is becoming of Uganda's financial state?
This financial year, we have paid interest on money borrowed of 11 trillion. Our revenue projection is 32 trillion. So you correct 32 trillion, 11 goes to pay the interest. The total amount for debt servicing in this budget, in this financial year, which ends end of this month, is 38 trillion. For nearly 46% of your budget is debt servicing. This time I was asking them, whose debt are you paying? On the list you have Democratic Republic of Congo, where we are paying 60 million US dollar every year because we went there, raped women, stole gold, stole timber, and we lost that case in the International Court of Justice. So in a budget for the next 5 years, we are going to pay Democratic Republic of Congo 1.1 trillion. Yet the people who committed the crime, Salim Sare, Otafire, and others are here. Why don't you go and sell the property of Otafire and Sare and we pay the debt? Because they are the ones who are plundering Congo. So you pay Congo 1.1 trillion, you pay Roko's debts, you pay Pineti's debt, you pay Atiaka Amina. So until the president stops treating taxpayers' money as his pocket money that he can pick and gives out to people, who will continue incurring debt. The human resource is a mess. The policy is good. Implementation is zero. So that's why we are just around the same place, thinking that we will move when we will not move.
Budget constraints are not just due to debt, but also the rampant corruption starting from the highest echelon of power. A turnaround must start with the leadership if we are to see change.
Corruption in Uganda, many people don't understand it. There is official corruption. When we sit in Parliament and allocate money to ourselves and other government people, for me, that is the highest level of corruption, higher than even the stealing itself. I have enumerated to you that you are a member of Parliament, you are a minister, you are what? You pass a budget in which you will buy yourself a car, you will put in the fuel, you will never count how you have used that fuel, whether you have been attending funerals in your constituency or weddings. So even before you go to the actual stealing in the procurement process, first deal with the official corruption. The president himself, in this budget that is ending, he has given himself 1 trillion shilling for his residency. And 500 billion of that 1 trillion is classified. I kept asking, what is classified between the president and his wife, two old people who have no life to live?
Uganda's budget leaves a lot to be desired. While the figures speak of a growing and developing economy, there are several loopholes that are denying the citizens the improvement in public goods that they desire. Joan Salmon, NTV.